Hey everyone, back together. Yomar was here before me. Tonight again, I'm here with the other 3 people. I will go really fast due to the fact we are a lot of people inside the space, and I want to give them the possibility to speak enough. So I let you present yourself.
Hi, Doug Hall, Director of Analytics for Duga Digital, formerly of ConversionWorks, Mighty Hive, Media Monks, now out of the wilderness years into Duga, having a great time.
Hello, Katie Wheatley. I'm a Senior Analytics Architect at Monks, based in London, Sydney before that. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Nicolas Malo. I'm the CEO of OptimalWays. So we are a niche digital analytics agency based in northern France, and we focus only on e-commerce. And we're also a piano partner.
Okay, so actually you already spoiled a bit what we are going to speak about today. Before this morning, we were speaking about being tool agnostic, while right now we are really diving into which tool we are using. And I ask some agency people I know here that are using different tools that are not Google-oriented. And thanks also to the partner, I found 3 wonderful people that can speak about it. So Doug, you will be our Piwik Pro guy.
Happy to be that guy. It's a privilege, it's an honour. Yes.
Thanks. Katie, you will be our Snowplow girl.
Snowplow girl.
Perfect. And Nicolas, as you said, our piano guy. So actually, there is not just Google. We spoke that we want to be tool agnostic. It's nice to discover the other tools. So here I am, and maybe it could be nice also to understand your expertise with this tool and what you find interesting about them and why you're using them. So if you want to start, Doug, due to the fact maybe also you are more used to the DV compared to Nicolas and Katie, that your first time, right? So
pay attention, guys. This is how professionals do it. I'm a particular fan of Piwik Pro, and there's a number of reasons for that. Very basic one, non-technical reason first off. Earlier on this week, we had the fireside chat. There was all about the power of partnerships, the art of doing a partnership. And partnering with Piwik Pro, for us, means being a part of the community. This is something the organisation has done a fantastic job about, creating an ecosystem of partners who offer support to each other, as well as providing product updates. Piwik Pro also used this partner network for marketing, outreach, supporting clients, as well as growth. Obviously, there's a commercial aspect to it. So that's great. Otherwise, previously, in previous years, Piwik Pro has positioned itself, or people were positioning Piwik Pro as an alternative to GA4 for its resemblance to Universal Analytics. But now the story, the narrative is much more positive and unique in that it is it stands out as its own product. Technically, it's got the requirements like server-side capability, but very much a very strong consent-oriented focus, privacy-oriented focus, privacy first.
If I'm not wrong, they have their own CMP integration.
Exactly, yes. That integration capability is hugely supportive. Very easy to implement, absolute no-brainer to implement, and it's very strong. This is not legal advice, I'm not a lawyer, but it gives you a very strong regulatory position, okay? In terms of compliance, you're well on the way. Then with the CDP integration was announced this week, I believe, and that's part of the freemium model as well. So your first-party data collection and processing and activation needs all in one place, along with an integrated CMP. That's a strong offering. And as I said, there's a freemium offering there, and the community support to go with it.
And I really agree with that, because I've never used a lot Piwik Pro, but due to the fact they offer the CDP integration, I actually advised a client that I had in my previous business to implement it. And even if I didn't use it, it was really straightforward to implement.
It's hugely compelling in terms of easy onboarding. I think that's a major plus point. You've got a TMS, your CMS, all kind of alphabet soup is going on in there. And it's very, the onboarding, not just in terms of implementation, but being able to start using it effectively very, very quickly. Some tools are complex and require some training, hand-holding, support. I think Piwik Pro is really approachable. Got a good digital analyst, got a good campaign manager, and these people are going to work together with this tool very quickly. It's quite intuitive.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
So we have an overview of Piwik Pro. Katie, what do you think? I've never used Snomwplow. I'm really interested in it because it's kind of also a different concept than the usual tool. So let's explain also to me how you use it, how it's built, and why it's interesting to implement as well.
Yeah, I've used it. So I work in a client-facing role, so I've used it in the context of working on a project for a client. And I think it became clear to me after a short amount of time why they had chosen it. This was like a pretty large governmental organisation in Australia, so privacy was like the #1 thing for them above, pretty much any other consideration, definitely above efficiency. And so I could see from that perspective why they chose it, because everything was just hosted in their own cloud, and that made a lot of sense. And also I could see why it was appropriate given the level of customization available. Yeah. That said, I think you do need to have, a really strong background in analytics, and it's kind of a tool that you want to be using after you've already had some exposure to the analytics industry. And for them, they had a really strong data engineering team, so it made a lot of sense. But I think from an analyst perspective and from a data engineering perspective, it's a very elegant solution and it's very privacy focused. So in the context of the client I worked with, it made a lot of sense.
Okay, yeah. And to connect to privacy-centric, one of the tools that is majorly used in France, I think, is Piano. And also its focus is privacy, and I know it's really an interesting tool. I've tried also to use that. I have a couple of workshops, and they show me the tool, but it's really difficult to move also the Italian mindset from a Google-based one to something different. But maybe, Nicolas, you can explain us, because you have really a long expertise with this tool, no?
Exactly. So I think it's like Piwik Pro. Piano is really privacy by design. And what I really like with Piano is that you can have the granularity for each dimension. You can specify which one is exempt or not from consent, which is a requirement from the French Data Protection Agency, CNIL, C-N-I-L. You may have heard about it already. So it's really granular in terms of privacy. But that's not only the reason why our customers migrate to Piano, but also what they really like, that there are reports like in Universal Analytics, out of the box. So that's something that's also very appreciated. Also in terms of data collection, it's an event-based model, so it's very similar to GA4. So when you have to migrate, you add GA4 events and then you migrate to Piano events, so that's very easy to use. Something else I really like, that you have the possibility to define dimensions with the first or last value of the session. Which is very useful, especially for e-commerce, where you want to understand what was the first internal campaign that was seen at the beginning of the visit versus the last one, etc. And last but not least, what's very interesting is have a data query tool that really helps you to manipulate the data in a no-code approach. And what I really like is that you can create calculated metrics based on segments. You can say, I'd like to have the ratio between this segment and this segment. Say, okay, I want to have the visit for people who did that and that, and visit from people who did that and that. And then calculate automatically the ratios and with no sampling. So in Piano, there are no sampling, which is a great asset. And for more advanced customers, you can, all the Piano infrastructure is based on Snowflake.
Yeah, I heard
not Snowplow, but Snowflake. There are sometimes confusions between the two. So you can, if you don't have Snowflake, Snowflake, you can access directly their own Snowflake environment. So that's something that's pretty useful more for advanced data scientists. Or you can export to your own Snowflake or to your Azure infrastructure or Google Cloud infrastructure. So it's also very flexible in that sense. If you have more advanced needs and you want to cross-reference your data with internal systems, etc.
Snowflake is more of a data repository, data warehouse, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so you have your raw data. It's kind of a Google Cloud, Google BigQuery, where you have your data, and then you can export where you want.
Exactly.
It's super nice. And okay, so actually, when you want, maybe it could be nice to have an example. if you want to move a client from a Google environment to one of your tools, what you're gonna say to them or tell them, and why they need to choose maybe one Piano or Piwik or Snomwplow? What are the things that for you really made the tool good for a client? Katie, do you want to start?
I was thinking that something that's good about it is because you're not restrained by the schema. If you have like a lot of different ways of identifying a user, or you have maybe different dimensions that you want to assign to a user, I think I found it a bit more elegant to use in that way. And I think mainly if you've got events that have, you know, unusual structures or unusual attributes or a lot of metadata, then it makes so much sense to use it. If metadata is really driving what you're doing, for instance, if you're a content, publisher, for instance.
Do you think it could be useful also to have on the client side someone that is maybe a data engineer? Or
You definitely need that. You definitely need the expertise.
Maybe hire also clients that have a higher knowledge of the data. So yes, not for clients that just maybe don't know how to handle those things, but those that the opposite, clients that know how to handle data and how to work with raw data directly, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's like a definite prerequisite, or it's just going to be, barely set up and unable to be used. Yeah, exactly.
And for you, Doug?
Well, changing a platform, analytics platform, for instance, ideally it's going to be less of a technology challenge. You're going to be facing a change management challenge more so. So the fact that you can use, if you're on GA4, so for example, likely going to be on Google Tag Manager, implementing the Piwik Pro data collection, you're going to leverage the same triggers. So you'll be able to implement the Piwik Pro in parallel with the GA4, and then use this as a period of calibration, learning, understanding, and phase out the GA4 as and when you need to. So the technology challenge is really very, very straightforward. It's not demanding. You're using a lot of the existing infrastructure that you're already going to have. That means the data is going to be a familiar shape, a familiar naming convention as well. And having these two systems run in parallel, one does not affect the other. It's really benign. It's really straightforward. During that change period, you've got, as I say, the calibration, and the training kicks off at that point as well. The training resources with Piwik Pro, fantastic. Very easy to follow, very accessible, freely available courses that you can get into really quick, start using the custom reports, move over the assets that are using the GA4 data for the workloads, migrate those whilst running in parallel over to use the Piwik Pro data, and a phased migration of those workloads, very, very achievable. It should be painless. It should. The art is making it appear effortless.
That's super nice. And for Piano, I understood that due to the fact that they have more or less the same structure, so it's event-based, it's kind of easy to migrate to Piano. So also there, it cannot be an issue, but why they migrate to Piano?
So I think one of the first driver is sampling with GA4, because with GA4 you have sampling starting, I think, 10 million events.
Something like that.
Yeah, so if you have 2-3 million page views per month, and you have 3 events per page, and you're done. So sampling is a big driver. Also data retention. With the free version of GA4, it's only 14 months. So GA4 has been around for more than 14 months, and then people start to lose their historical data. So we advise our customers, you should do a backup with BigQuery, and then you need to have Google Cloud Console access, you need to talk to someone in IT, you need a credit card, so it starts to become complicated, and you don't necessarily have the internal resources to do all the SQL, BigQuery, etc. And they want to go back to something similar to Universal Analytics. So with Piano, you still have the Universal Analytics report, and you have the GA4 data structure. So that's pretty easy to migrate. I think where it requires more training, it's the data query part, because you can create calculated metrics based on segments. So that's a different way of thinking. So it requires some onboarding, but for e-commerce people, that goes very fast, because they're always calculating ratios, macro conversions, macro rates. So once they have understood how it works, they pick up very quickly.
Yeah. So actually, I kind of also have this idea in mind. If you have a really simple site, maybe the first thing I go, if I don't use Google, it will be Piwik Pro with the CDP. And then if you want to move or to maybe think about having a higher, if you have already a lot of data, maybe thinking about or going for a Piwik Pro paid ones or go for a piano. And if you also have a data stack, so people that really knows about data, also Snomwplow, it can be really an option. But right now it arrives the tricky question. How do we do with the media stack? So advertisers and advertising. This is one of the most difficult thing for, I think, people, because of course, if you have Google and you have Google Ads, they really talk in between each other. And that's maybe one of the most difficult thing to do with another platform. Nicolas, I see you with that.
Yeah. So regarding, so now in Piano, you can import the Google Ads data and also the Facebook Ads data, from what I remember. So you can integrate all the information with all your JClear, the information, etc. But you cannot push audiences to Google Ads. So, but usually when you install Piano Analytics, it's really designed for the e-commerce team and the acquisition team. They keep GA4 as a audience activation tool. And they know that they don't have as much data as in Piano because you need consent, and then there is consent mode, modernization. So they know it's not as accurate, but at least that's good enough for activation.
But it's really a nice setup because anyhow you're keeping both of the assets. And for you, Katie?
For Snomwplow, I'm, full disclosure, not totally experienced with using advertising with Snomwplow, but my intuition would be that, like anything in Snomwplow, you can collect identifiers, right? So the same as you would with a gclid or dclid, whatever, you would be collecting those values, and really in the same way that you're setting up, you know, a pretty advanced data engineering stack when you're using Snomwplow, integrating based on those identifiers. I'm sure there's a better answer than that. But
no, but
that's the one that.
No worries. I know that it's really difficult. So I know that it's, I had this question for Piwik Pro because I'm pin of the master, and that was my part. But for Piwik Pro, maybe you also have the answer, or.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very similar situation to what Nicolas described. You know, the integrations are still capable. They're still there. You can still do it from Search Consoles, Google Ads to BigQuery. They're all available. But as Nicolas was saying, it depends what the team needs from the tool. The integration is possible. E-commerce team are going to use the data as well. I've seen implementations that are parallel. You know, Piwik Pro for e-com, absolutely perfect with custom reporting, still using the advertising data. But then GA4 can also be used by a marketing team if they want to. Now, what we saw earlier on, it fits more into the Snomwplow usage, is to consider these data collection points, then feeding into a lake house, warehouse, whatever the vernacular might be, but exporting that data and doing that join and leverage, audience build, analysis, media mix modeling, external to the tool. That might be more appropriate. That depends very much on the digital maturity. Again, to Nicolas's point, absolutely right. It's what tools do the team need to be able to function to do the job. All of these things are possible. They all fit on the spectrum, and the right fit is relatively straightforward to find.
It's amazing. We finished with that, and it also opened a bunch of 1,000 other questions.
What next?
So thanks a lot for being there. Thanks a lot also for sharing with me your expertise. And if you want to know more about these tools, I think that can get in touch with you as well. You find them on LinkedIn, all of them. Nicolas is also doing a really great reporting of Super Week, so follow them. And see you in a couple of minutes with Elena Nisi.